Hello, welcome students. So this is our first class on open course, which is the paper title is Non-Conventional Source of Energy, and mainly we will be discussing non-conventional source of energy. Okay, and this paper is of this is our first class on open course offered by Department of Physics. Myself, Dr. Jayakrishan. I will be handling your open course classes throughout this year. Okay, so this is a simple course, very simple concepts are studied. Okay, so don't worry about the difficulty of science or physics. Okay, so very simple course and easy scoring. So the paper title is about a non-conventional energy source. Okay, so where we will be studying about different non-conventional energy sources like solar energy, wind energy, okay, tidal energy, means ocean energy. So such topics will be discussed in simple terms and how they are working and their application in our daily life. So this is essentially the content of this paper, and in the initial module, the first module, we will simply discuss what are they and how they are defined like that. First, what is a conventional source of energy? What is the meaning of conventional sources and what are they? Okay. So first, the definition. Conventional source of energy, those energies which have been in use for a long time, and they are called conventional source of energy. Okay, so traditionally, you can say, historically, for the last thousands of years, what we have been using as an energy source, they are called conventional sources of energy. Okay. So which are the examples? Examples are coal is an example, petroleum is an example. Okay, all the petroleum products is an example for conventional source of energy. Petroleum sources means we have petrol, diesel, kerosene, the gasoline, so many varieties of petroleum products. All are coming under conventional sources of energy. Natural gas, okay, cooking gas is an example. Water power is an example. Water power in the sense that from higher mountain ranges, water falls down. You can store in dams, or in a river you can construct dams, and the water falling from there you can use for rotating turbines. So they are all coal. Okay, rotating the turbines you can generate electricity. So they are all classified as conventional source of energy. Okay. So what are the properties? They have these conventional source of energy some properties. What are those properties? First property is they are exhaustible. Water. Exhaustible in the sense they will be finished off within a short period of time. Those sources will be finished. For example, petroleum products, you can say it is excavated from the underground, okay, from the very bottom of the earth. So they are not replenishable. Means you cannot recreate them. So once it is finished, you cannot no more produce it. So that is what is called exhaustible. Something which will be finished in a finite period of time. So is an example for that. Okay? So they are exhaustible. And another property is that they cause pollution when used. So conventional sources of energy, they can cause pollution. There is, for example, coal. If you burn in large amount, they may produce huge amount of smoke. Like in thermal power plants is a big problem, and ash is a big problem. Ash is a waste, a byproduct of you can see from nuclear, these thermal power plants. So whereas non-conventional sources which you are going to study, they are not producing any pollution. They are virtually free of any pollution. Which one? Non-conventional sources. But here we are talking about conventional sources, they are polluting. Essentially, they are polluting. Okay, so that is another property of conventional sources. Now let us come to non-conventional energy sources. Here, energy is generated by using wind, tide, solar, geothermal, and biomass. So this includes farm waste and animal waste as well as human excreta. Okay, so this is also the definition of non-conventional source of energy. Any energy created from these sources. Which are the sources? Wind source, tidal source, solar energy, geothermal energy. So we will discuss separately each one in later classes. But now this is just introducing. Okay, this was, for example, wind energy. When wind blows, it carries huge amount of energy. That energy can be suitably used to rotate different generators. Okay, by which we can produce that. We have so many wind plants, okay, wind farms in our country, where from energy is generated using wind energy. Okay, tidal energy. Tidal means, tides means the up and down fall of sea water. Okay, so it happens in twice a day. So this tidal energy you can use to produce electricity. Okay, so that is also also non-conventional energy. Solar energy, as you know very well. Okay, solar using solar panels, you can generate electricity. And similarly, geothermal. Geothermal means energy contained in the magma. Okay, so you know inside there are molten magma. Molten, it is in liquid form. They carry heavy amount of energy. So that energy can be used to boil water. Okay, so this acts as a source of heat energy. You can pass water to the underground, and you can bring them in contact with this magma. It is in a very high temperature. So magma will boil the water, and this water come out as steam, high pressure steam. So such steam we can use to rotate turbines. So they are called geothermal heat. And biomass, of course. Biomass means any mainly the waste generated from big farms. Okay, by grain waste or any excreta. Animal farms, excreta is produced. Excreta can be used to generate gas, different gases. Those gases can be properly burned and energy can be produced. Or even human excreta you can use to generate gas. Okay, so means fuel gases. Those gases can be suitably burned and energy can be produced. So they are collectively called biomass energy. Okay, so biomass energy. So the list is shown. Okay, non-conventional, solar energy, wind energy, ocean energy, that we also call tidal energy, and geothermal energy, and finally you have biomass. Okay, so all farm waste, human waste, and animal waste, agricultural waste, all these waste can be suitably processed. Okay, suitably processed, and we produce biomass. Okay. So we have a separate chapter on that where we will study in detail how biomass is used to generate energy. And a question also arises why it is called a non-conventional. The reason is that they are not established by accepted usage or general agreement. That means, in other words, these sources of energy are not conventionally or traditionally used. That means, in olden times, we never used ocean energy for creating energy. We never used geothermal energy. In say 50 or 60 years back, we never depend upon this kind of energy sources. But in many countries nowadays, they depend mainly on solar energy, wind energy, ocean energy like that. That is why we call it non-conventional, something which are not used historically or traditionally. But in modern era, many countries depend upon these sources for their energy requirement. That is why this is called non-conventional, something not previously used to or accustomed to. Okay, so that's the implication of non-conventional. And these are some of the properties of non-conventional energy sources. they are renewable or regenerative, in the sense that they never get finished off. Understand? It is periodically we get energy from these sources. Compared to petroleum. Petroleum once finished, you cannot reproduce it again. But wind source, they will come and go, they never stop. Okay. Every year in certain seasons we will get wind, in certain season we will get solar energy, solar light. Of course there will be some periodical variation, but we get it every year. This is never going to be finished. Understand? So that is why we call it renewable and regenerative. And thirdly, they cause lowest level of pollution. So it is very obvious. From wind energy, for example, if you generate electricity, wind farms never produce pollution. Whereas consider a thermal power plant. In a thermal power plant, a huge amount of smoke will be created that will pollute the nearby cities and towns. And ash is a big problem. There is a waste. The disposal is a big problem. Okay. So that's why, but on the other hand, in non-conventional sources, they don't produce any pollution, and they cause least level of pollution. And thirdly, property is that they do not require heavy expenditure. Compared to nuclear reactor or hydroelectric projects, they need huge amount of investment. Whereas for designing or installing a solar power plant or a wind thermal energy plant, it requires very low amount of investment. So that is another advantage of non-conventional energy sources. Okay, and these are other features of non-conventional energy sources. They are renewable, they are alternative in the sense that it is a substitute. Okay, renewable already you have seen. Why it is called renewable? Again and again it is produced. Alternative in the sense that you can replace for other energy sources. For example, petroleum. Suppose you have petroleum based cars and vehicles, but you can now replace with solar panel based cars and buses. Now in many countries they are using solar based automobiles. So that is why it is called alternative, something which can be replaced. And natural, it is naturally obtained. We are not disturbing the nature, producing any sort of harm to the nature. We are not destroying forest, we are not destroying any water reservoir. Something which don't make any harm and naturally available. Okay, so these are other features of non-conventional energy sources. And sources of energy can be also classified into primary source of energy and secondary source of energy. So let us see how this is done. For example, primary source of energy is something that can be directly used for various day-to-day applications as they appear in the natural environment. Without any processing, you can directly use. For example, coal is an example for primary source of example. Oil, natural gas. Without any processing, you can directly use them to get energy. Okay, nuclear energy is another example for primary sources. And if you come to secondary source of energy, they are obtained from the transformation of primary energy sources. That means you have a primary source, you have to process it in some way, you make some, apply some industrial mechanism to process it, then only you get secondary sources. Example is electrical energy. Electrical energy is obtained from the conventional conversion of mechanical energy into electrical energy. Okay. So here a process is involved. Electrical energy you cannot directly get from nature. Instead, you have to do some process. Either you have to use the energy of falling water. Okay. So that is called hydroelectric project. Or thermal plants where from some chemical reaction is done, some burning is done, and we are converting subsequently to electrical energy. So electrical energy is something secondary, obtained from another source. But in primary energy, primary source, it is directly obtained. Directly you can use it as energy source. But in secondary source, you have to do some process first. Then only you will get that. Then you can use it conveniently. So secondary source of energy has so many advantages. These are the advantages. It can be easily stored suitably. Okay, electrical energy you can send from one place to another, because it is produced in one place and used in another. Suppose Idukki, where electrical energy is produced, and in Cochin you can use them. But if you have coal, and if your coal is in Idukki, you cannot use them in Cochin. Okay, only in Idukki you can use that coal. I think you can understand the difference. So storing is very easy with the secondary sources compared to primary source. And even transportation, you can move the energy. Okay, once you generate the electricity in Idukki, you can transport, you can transmit the energy to other places. Okay, so that is another advantage. Okay, because at the generating place, so many noise, pollution, etc. will be there. But in the using place, suppose you are in a city and you are living there, with the electric energy you can produce in some other place, some isolated place where there is no population. Then you can transport to the city where you are living. So that is another advantage of secondary sources, whereas primary source we cannot use like that. Okay, and in different forms you can use it. Electrical energy you can use in a house as a light energy, or as a heat energy, or as a mechanical energy for a fan, for example. Your electrical energy you can convert to mechanical energy, whereas in a electrical heater you can convert that electrical energy into thermal energy. So appropriately, for according to your application, according to your requirement, secondary sources of energy can be easily converted into other forms. Okay, so these are all the benefits of secondary source of energy. Here a pictorial representation of different non-conventional source of energies are shown. This is a geothermal power plant where geological heat contained in the Earth's core is converted into steam by boiling water. Steam is made. The steam is used to rotate turbine. This is a wind energy farm where wind energy is converted into electrical energy by using what is called windmills. Okay. These are the propellers which may rotate with wind energy, and the rotation can be suitably converted into electrical energy. This is solar power plant where solar cells you can see, solar energy can be converted into electrical energy. This again is a solar plant where solar energy is converted into electrical in another way. Okay, these are solar reflectors. And finally you can see tidal plants where tides. Okay, tides means up and rise movement of the seawater. This tidal flow can be suitably used to generate electricity. Okay, so these are some pictorial representation. In subsequent classes we will see very detailed illustration and description of different non-conventional source of energy, starting with solar energy. Okay, starting with the solar energy. So with this much of description, let us conclude the first module. Along with this module, you will get some assignment in the assignment section of your Google Classroom. Go to the assignment. Some questions will be given there. You have to answer those questions in a A4 paper and upload it. Okay. When you upload the answers, only then you will get the attendance. So I hope these things are clear. You watch this video once or twice, get the full conceptual idea about the topics. Then you try to attempt the assignments and upload your assignments in due time. Okay. Thank you.